you keep saying, and I feel great after the race. I feel great after this race. And I'm like, how can you feel good
Well, because
after
you
hours and hours of
because you
just
train,
killing yourself?
you train for it. You don't just, do it.
Oh, of course.
It's 21 years of training, really,
Oh,
of consistency. Consistency is the key to everything, of
hmm.
staying on that fine line, the right side of the fine line of not getting injured so that you can get up and do something each day. And the beauty of triathlon is that you have the three sports. So if you have a foot injury, you can bike or swim. And if you have a shoulder injury, you can bike and run. So that's the thing that I love about it because I love to do something every day, at least one thing. Preparing for my races, I do quite often 2 workouts a day. Um, so I just eat a lot.
Yeah.
I eat,
That,
Really?
I mean, honestly, that might be the only reason why I would ever do this, so I could eat twice as much.
yeah,
I could have
But Natalie,
donuts 3 times a day. Yes,
yeah,
yes,
thank
there
you.
you go.
I'm curious about the mentality that goes into this. Like, was there something that switched when you started training for triathlons and
Yeah.
you learned how to swim in your late 50s? Like, what mentally do you have to have in order to, because the way that I think about this kind of training is there's a lot of suffering involved and a lot of like mental strength that you need to have.
There's a lot of
Is
mental
there a part
strength.
of your training that you work on the mentality piece, or like was there some sort of event that happened that you were like, this is now the person that I am? Like, what, how does this happen?
I think it happens when you're born. You're born with a competitive spirit. And I wasn't able to do anything as a girl. We had no sports. We wore dresses. We watched the boys. In high school, I was a cheerleader, and you forget that I was born in '45. So it took a long time for Title IX and all that. And so when I had my girls, I played a little tennis. I wasn't real good, but I played
Kinger gave
tennis.
her a yes.
Yeah, baby.
And then when I went back to work, I started running because that was something I could do in a short time and get fit. To go to your question, it's something that I've always been competitive. I've always wanted that outlet to compete. And so when I was running, I started entering 5Ks and 10Ks, and I loved it, and I did very well. I won my age group most of the time. So I was a very good runner, and so I've always loved competing and doing my best. And so it's not, I don't think anything is suffering. I have a very strong mind. I can sit on the trainer on a bike with just my music for 5.5 or 6 hours, and I
What?
can be fine because I love it. I know it sounds a little weird at my age. Now, I get together with my high school girlfriends at least twice a year, and when we started getting together 25 years ago, they looked at me strangely. They watched what I ate and they couldn't figure it out, but they've come to accept it, which is, very good because I don't have to explain myself why I bring my bike and why I go out for my runs and stuff. So, they've come to terms with it. But it's just a love of mine for sports. I had, my one daughter supports me in my big races. I couldn't, well, I could do it, but she makes it so much more fun. She comes out and she just is such a wonderful. She rents a bike and she puts lights all over her and she's out there on the course. Mom, you're doing great, Mom. And so it's just wonderful having her there. So
Can you explain to the pod squad? So we
sure,
have our listeners,
Party
some of
people.
them, yeah, the party people, they may not be
sure,
completely educated on what Ironmans and cutoffs and
right.
whatnot. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure, and it
That
only really affects the slower people, but you have to finish the swim in 2 hours and 20 minutes, or you can't go on.
wow.
Really?
And then you have to finish. There's a midway point on the bike. It's a turnaround point, and you have to be there at a certain time, or you can't go on. And then you have to finish the bike at a certain time, or you can't go on to the run. And then there's at least 1 or 2 cutoffs during the run, where they look at your pace and say, okay, at that pace, you're not going to finish under 17 hours. So because they need to open up the roads and all that kind of thing. So it's not like some races that you can continue on forever, but so there are cutoff times. So
How many people actually don't finish the race?
there are
Natalie.
quite a number. I don't know how many,
Right.
but there are some, and it's a very strict 17 hours. You could be 1 second over it, and no.
Really?
What when I think of, like, I'm 54, and my body, when I run too much, is very clear about this is too much. I still love to run, but I can only do it a few days a week, and it's about like 3 miles. But it like is very clear. Like my hip starts hurting, my back gets tight. So at 80, to do the mileage you do and the distance you do, how does your body and joints and all of that handle it?
Well, I have to tell you, I don't run that much. So my total mileage per week is never more than 20 miles total.
Okay.
So I do like maybe 2 or 3 short runs that are like 30 minutes, 30 or 45 minutes during the week and in preparation for an Ironman. And then I do a long run on Sunday, and that's a combination of a run walk. So that's a run for a mile, walk for a minute, run for a mile. Because that's basically what you do in a race at my age. You walk through the aid stations, and they're located about every mile on the run course. And that's when you get your hydration, your nutrition, you know,
Okay.
every place you can put it. And because it's so hot and humid there, the trick is, if you saw any of the pros this year, they overheated and they had to
Yeah.
stop. They were leading, and they just couldn't go on because their bodies got so hot. For me, having been there 10 times before was so helpful because I'm used to knowing what it's like, the heat, the wind, the humidity. It's just really hard. So, I was familiar with that, and
Right.
I think that really helped.
My mom and I used to talk about this. She'd go, she was 80. She'd go, I have to talk to you. Just come and sit down. And she'd go, Billy, I want you to know you just never stop moving, because if you stop moving, it's over. And you're reminding me of that quote from my mom and how insistent she was to keep moving.
That's good. That's
And
nice.
here at
Okay.
80 years old, you're really teaching us to keep moving, to keep doing our thing. But I just, as a person who was born in the same era,
Yeah.
it's so interesting to hear how you went through, like, you didn't have the opportunities and now you're taking advantage of it, which is
Right,
great. And I
right.
think I think the 80 is the new 60 probably. I don't know. It
That's
seems
it.
amazing what you're doing and setting such a great example for us, though. I mean, you've got me so wound up now. Like, you're like, I'm ready to go. I mean, let's go. And so I think it's fantastic to listen to you at any age.
Well,
but-
I feel so lucky that I can do this. This is what, when you watch, a group of cyclists go and you haven't gotten there yet, or, you're not allowed to, you haven't gotten a tri-bike yet, and you say, oh, someday I'd like to do that. And you get to do this. How lucky am I that I get to do this now? I just love it. I'll do it as long as I can. So maybe some of the women who had those opportunities young, maybe at certain ages, they say, okay, I've done that. I'm going to move on to something else. But it's important to keep moving, I think, even if you don't, compete or whatever.